Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome you to the August 13th work session. At this time, I'd like to ask Commissioner Weatherspoon if he leads the invocation secretary, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Father God, we come to you today, Lord, thanking you for all the blessings you've given us. We thank you for seeing us safely through the tropical storm Debbie. We ask that you continue to bless this county. Be with this board this morning as we go about the business of the county. Help us to make decisions that are right in your eyes. These things we ask in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
If it pleases the board, I'd like to take a moment of privilege and congratulate Commissioner Weatherspoon on his birthday today. His second set of 34th birthdays. All right. Item number 3, the presentation by Campo regarding the regional multi-model safety action plan known as the Blueprint for Safety Plan. Floor is yours, sir.
Good morning, and thank you for this opportunity. My name is Kenneth Withrow with the Capital Area Metropolitan Planning Organization. And quickly, before I hand this off to Ms. Catherine Sain to give you the full presentation, let me just give you some quick background with regard to the Blueprint for Safety. The Capital Area MPO implemented or encouraged this project as a part of its plan, multimodal safety action plan that we're looking to implement over the next 2 years. By this time next year, we'll hope to have some ideas on planning and projects that could be applicable to our area. We have had various meetings. We started off with a workshop on March 14th. We've had various technical coordinating committee meetings in May and June, and in recent weeks we've been engaged in pop-ups associated with this particular project. So before I go ahead and begin, I'll let Ms. Catherine Sain from VHB. They're at the forefront of safety planning here in the state of North Carolina. In fact, they put together the Highway Safety Plan for North Carolina. She will be here to tell you the goals for the plan, what the outcomes will be, and how you all can be engaged in that particular process. So without further ado, Ms. Catherine Sain from VHB.
Thank you so much. Oh, I'm sorry. Traffic jam. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for allowing us to come present about Regional Transportation Safety Action Plan is a mouthful, so I'm just going to call it the Blueprint. That's a little easier to say. And I'm on my second cup of coffee this morning, so please let me know if I need to slow down or stop me at any time. We have quite a number of slides to get through in a short amount of time, so happy to answer questions or interrupt me throughout. So I'm just quickly, as Kenneth spoke, I'm going to give an introduction to the plan if you're not familiar, talk about our first phase of engagement. We have 2 phases, and we're wrapping up phase 1. And then with the little bit of time that I have, maybe ask you a couple questions for a safety discussion, and then I'll quickly touch on our next steps. So why are we doing this? Why plan for road safety? You know, nearly 200,000 crashes have occurred over the last 5 years in the Campo region, and of those crashes, a little bit more than 650 people have lost their lives, and we don't think anyone should lose their life either near the road or traveling to a destination. I think this is particularly important. Have some images up here on the screen, but I read over the weekend in Harnett County, a crash had occurred at an intersection. 2 vehicles collided. 4 people were seriously injured, one of those being a child, at 11:50 Saturday morning. So I know this is near and dear to our heart, and we want to do better, and we don't want to read about that in the news. So it's not just near and dear to Campo or to Harnett County. The United States Department of Transportation has been pushing safety and safety planning with the release in 2019 of the National Roadway Safety Strategy that really sets the precedent that we need to do better. We need a holistic approach to safety and improving safety on our roadways. Some of you may be familiar with the Safe Streets and Roads for All grant. I believe when we spoke at the TAP meetings, maybe the city of Lillington was applying applying for a local safety plan, but I can correct that if I'm wrong. But that's kind of, implementing safety on a local level. And as Kenneth mentioned, North Carolina DOT just released their 2025 Strategic Highway Safety Plan. So it sets the stage, the course of action of the crash types that we're focused on over the next 5 years and ways that we can improve safety. But Campo, this has also been on Campo's mind. They've heard from the public, and there have been prior plans. Specifically, right now, they're updating their long-range transportation plan, Destination 2055. And in that, they want to promote safety. And we want to bring safety into the conversation and talk about it a little bit more. So we're coordinating our efforts with the feedback, too, that we're hearing as part of that update. Many of you may know what a transportation safety plan, so some of these things may not be completely new to you, but just wanted to touch on that this is, a vision, and we're committed to safety. It's data-driven. We've been doing a lot of data analysis. If you participated in the technical advisory team meeting, we had a data packet for Harnett County. We looked at what types of crashes are occurring, where are they occurring, when are they occurring. So we're looking at across the counties and then overwide for Campo. It's stakeholder-led, and that's part of why I'm here today. It takes all of us to get to zero. It's not just one organization that's going to make change happen. It takes all of us. We're both doing reactive and proactive, so we might look at where a crash has occurred and address that, but we'll also use the systemic approach to look at areas that have risk factors that maybe a crash could occur there, and how could we prevent that from happening in the future. As Kenneth mentioned, this is multimodal. We're not focused on one form of transportation. We want to be safe in all forms of transportation. And we have that long-term goal of reducing fatalities and getting towards zero, but we have our short-term needs that we're going to focus on in the meantime to get there. So those are the kinds of things that we're trying to accomplish in this plan. You probably have realized from me saying it over and over, our goal is to reduce fatalities and serious injuries on the transportation system in the region. And I'm going to touch on here in a second, we're coordinating with other regional efforts. We're trying to increase awareness about safety, and that's part of that phase 1 engagement. We want to educate the public and stakeholders about this plan and thinking about how we can travel safer on the roads. We're also trying to ensure that we're consistent with USD programs, and North Carolina has their strategic highway safety plan. We want to be consistent with other efforts. Redundancy is crucial as part of that safe system approach, which I could talk for 30 minutes about that, so I won't unpack that now. But basically, it's a holistic approach to safety and thinking about how different user types can help get towards zero. So we've been doing some coordination as part of this plan. There's several other safety action plans or Vision Zero plans that are happening across the region, and we're working with them so that we're not duplicating our efforts. And so just going to quickly fly through some phase 1 engagement. I'll touch on each of these, but we have a multi-pronged approach to trying to get the word out there and get feedback from people and hear what the needs are for this plan. We have a project website, which I believe you all have pushed out, and I'm really appreciative of spreading the word about the survey. We can follow up today, too, with links if you could push that out to your constituents. That's a really great place for us to get feedback, and I look at that, and we want to hear that feedback. So if you could help to push that survey out, it'll be open through the end of this month. Really would appreciate that. As Kenneth mentioned, we had a summit in March, which that feels like a lifetime ago, but some of you may have come, where we talked about the plan, got into data, and talked about safety culture, which safety culture is a big part of this plan. As I mentioned, it takes everyone. We all share a responsibility in getting towards zero, and we need to understand how our role is important and how working together is important, because we want to make sure that every user and every trip is a safe trip. Also, as I mentioned, it's a shared responsibility. You all have a part to play, but other people here in the room, even if you're not at the front, you have a role to play in transportation safety and helping us get towards zero. And so we have had technical advisory team meetings where we met with stakeholders across the region. So we spoke with you all here in Lillington in June. And then we also had in June, some of you may have attended we released a digital toolkit and had social media training. So we have materials that are available online. Again, if you could help push those out to your constituents, we're trying to make it as easy as possible to help spread the word. So some of those items are on there. And again, I can follow up after today if you need links to any of those. We've also been boots on the ground, and we've been meeting the people where they are with local engagement events, teaming up with Campo. So from June until August, we've been at a slew of meetings, in particular in this region. We were in Coates at the end of July, and then last week we were in Anger at the Community Day Resources Fair, collecting your feedback. So at each of these events, you've got a picture here of a gentleman with a board. All of that we're gleaning and taking in for feedback as we start trying to think about strategies for the plan. And I know I flew through that because I wanted to get to this piece to hear your input. So please let me know if you have any questions. But I would love to hear from the board. We heard from some of you during the technical advisory team meetings, but would like to take just a few moments here now to get your inputs on any safety issues you observe, both on the infrastructure side or the behavior side in your community. And then too, if you want to touch on what you think stands out, particular to Harnett County versus the overall region in your needs. So I'll pause here and can answer any questions as well, but would love to hear from you. And I'm going to jot down anything that you share about those safety needs or challenges.
Well, I have a question. I'm Commissioner McCoy. I have a question, and that question is, how seriously do DOT take flooding roads out? We have a community here where the streets have been flooded out for decades. DOT came in and they put a larger, much larger culvert in one part of that highway because it was blocked and the traffic could not travel that road for months. But now there are other areas in that community where the roads are completely blocked because of flooding water. So I met with DOT and had a thorough discussion about it. But so far, I haven't seen them do anything. So I know that my assistant manager is working on that, and I have confidence in him that he will get us some answers and solutions to it. But I'm just curious, because I see flooding water on highways is a serious condition for safety. 2014 or 15, they were serious about it too. But I'm not getting anything from them now. So you can take that back to them.
Yes, ma'am. I will take that back to them. And I think Kenneth touched on, and I may have forgotten to, but NCDOT is part of a sponsor of this plan, and they're engaged in the process. And so I'm writing that down right now. I was unaware of that, but I will speak with NCDOT about that and see what we can do.
All the roads, all the streets was blocked with this past storm that we had last week. I think they just opened up the roads. Maybe about the weekend or something like that.
Road paved road 17.
Okay, thank you.
It's really awful that people have to live in that kind of environment. So I consider this being a safety hazard.
No, it definitely is, and I really appreciate you bringing that to my attention, and I will have started that to bring that in front of our partners at NCDOT.
I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
And thank you
No,
for
thank
what
you.
you do.
Thank you.
And I think one of the major concerns that all of us share is the increased traffic that we see coming in from Wake County, bottlenecking in Littleton on two-lane roads, 401 particularly, in two areas, and the issues that is causing, especially our citizens in that part of the county. Two-lane roads serve a purpose, but when the volume of traffic reaches a point where you've got a driver that doesn't want to drive as fast as a lot of other people, a lot of dangerous moves occurred, people trying to get around, and that certainly does not lend itself to producing a safe environment for our citizens to be traveling on. So that's a major concern of mine.
I appreciate that, and I traveled in on 401 from Wake County this morning, and I observed that. So really appreciate that, and know with Harnett County, you're one of the, in the region, I think the top second, or you have 20% increase in VMT. So you've got a lot of people coming in and out on roads that weren't designed for that kind of travel. So we're certainly aware of that, and the data shows that. But
Yes,
thank
ma'am.
you for noting that.
Thank you.
I just want to say too that I appreciate what DOT has done so far on that 401 You've put a stoplight there. For years, we've been asking for that. And you have put a stoplight on another road right up from DOT to the right. What is that name? Name of that road?
Which one?
Right up from stoplight.
On 401.
Rawls Church?
Rawls Church Road. Rawls Church Road. You've put a stop sign on that road, stop lights. And that was certainly necessary because all the traffic, that's like a bypass from Raleigh to the Littleton area. And that's been needed for many, many years. So I want you to know that I'm sure all the commissioners, speak for all the commissioners, we appreciate the DOT taking that action and seeing the problem with the traffic.
I'll pass that along to you. And I know that there's always the next thing to fix, and there's always a small pocket of money to do it. But I will certainly pass that along, as well as the flooding conversation. Thank you. I know I'm getting close on my time, but just quickly, any other issues that you've observed that you'd like to share? If not, I'll have my contact information up to share too afterwards. So I want to be respectful of the rest of the agenda, but really appreciate those comments. Thank you all. So just wanted to touch on some next steps. We're wrapping up phase 1, but we're not stopping here on engagement. Phase 2, you'll be hearing from us again, I think later this year into early next year, as we develop the plan and then start to finalize the plan. So if you've served on the technical advisory team before, I'll be reaching out here in early fall to get those scheduled. And then we'll be back to you all in 2025 to present the plan for your review. And so just one ask I have, if possible, if you could just help to promote this plan to your constituents. Like I said, the feedback, Ms. McCoy, we really appreciate. And so that's how we hear these things and can collect it and document it. So if you can push the digital toolkit, it's everything you should need is there. And just please push involvement. We would certainly appreciate it. And I've got up here too, Mr. Withrow's contact information, and myself, Lauren Blackburn from VHB is also a lead on this project. So if you need to reach out to any of us, please do. We're really happy to answer questions, and we want to hear from you because that's how we know these things are going on. So I know we flew through that, but I want to be respectful of the agenda and really appreciate y'all's time this morning. Thank you so
Let me make
much.
a correction.
Yes, ma'am.
That road is Piney Grove Road.
Okay.
Lot of traffic.
Okay.
Traffic. Everybody uses that as a bypass from Raleigh to Harnett County. And from Harnett County into Raleigh and the Cary area. Everybody uses that road, and the traffic is tremendous. But you have put a stop sign there. And I want to say I appreciate that.
There's a plan to put a stoplight there.
It's up, the stoplight is already up.
At Piney Grove Wilburn Road?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
I travel that road a lot going to Raleigh. So they have a stoplight there.
I have noted that as well. Thank you all so much for the time. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, item number 4. Discuss a request to accept $50,000 from the Alliance Health for Veterans Treatment Court. Mr. Truesdale.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. We had about $3,000 left over from Sand Hills that was going to roll into, it was sent over to Alliance, and they've stepped up and offered to fund $50,000 for the Veterans Treatment Court. We plan on using that for a contracted position. I think it's the mentor coordinator, if I remember correctly, some drug and alcohol assessments and mental health treatment. And we request that you please accept that on behalf of the participants in the court.
Pleasure of the board. Put it on the consent agenda, Madam Clerk. Painless that was.
Yeah. Next thing I have is there's a $500,000 2-year grant for the Governor's Crime Commission. The Veterans Treatment Court would like to apply for. And I'll let Mr. Campbell, Zane, he'll explain what he plans on using that for.
Hey, good morning. Thank y'all for once again having me. I know that we've been able to do some great things over these last 3 years since I took over. This grant is kind of a unique one. It's coming from the Governor's Crime Commission. It's a skip grant. There is no match It's $250,000 for year one, $250,000 for year two, so a total of $500,000. What we plan on doing with this grant is kind of different than what we've done in the past. And the reason for that is the big push on the regular adult drug treatment court and trying to get some things in order for that. So two of the big things on that grant are two positions. One is going to be an assistant district attorney position that will be responsible primarily for the treatment courts, not only the veterans treatment court, but once we get to that point, the adult treatment court. And the second one's going to be the clerk of courts, deputy clerk position. That way we can have that continuity of the court recordings as well as the prosecution side for the treatment courts as a whole. The other couple items on there is MAT, so medication assisted treatment, which has become very popular. It's actually in the best practices, national standards that we start implementing. And the final big thing in that is we're looking at starting a program called Winning the Invisible War. It's a cognitive behavioral training / criminal behavior therapy, and it's focused on veterans to help kind of reset the mind and kind of get things moving back towards the right direction. Seen a lot of success nationwide from that program, and we're looking at trying to implement that with this grant as well.
Okay. Any questions for him?
No, I just say, appreciate the work you do.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Much needed. We're close to Fort Bragg with a lot of military people that are stationed in Fort Bragg. A lot of them retire here in Harnett County. So, you know, when we was trying to organize that, the court and all, people didn't understand how much it was needed here. So I appreciate the work.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Send it to board.
Yes.
Put it on the consent agenda, Madam Clerk.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Appel, item number 6, discuss a request to approve a resolution to sell real property located at 87 Stonewood Lane, Sanford.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. Yes, we received an offer to purchase a piece of property. Just for background, this piece of property is a 0.35 acre parcel that's located in the Carolina Hills subdivision off of Buffalo Lake Road. We acquired this property in a foreclosure sale in 2017 for $4,000. So, and the offer we have received is for $10,000. And it was assessed by the tax department at $10,210. So essentially, the offers for the tax value of this piece of property. And speaking with all our departments, we don't have a use for this property in the future as it's in a subdivision. So I'd ask this board to adopt a resolution at your next meeting and start the upset bid process for this piece of property.
Pleasure to board.
Could you tell me again, what was the foreclosed price on that?
We bought it for $4,000 $4,000 in 2017. Yes, sir.
Okay, consent agenda, Madam Clerk.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Number 7, developmental service briefing on public hearing.
Yeah, to start the process. Okay. To approve it.
Hello there, and good morning, Commissioners. Sarah Arbor, Long Range Planner with Harnett County Development Services. Here to present to you. Firstly, we have 2 items this morning. The first is a text amendment request. This is internal. So this would be a revision to the Unified Development Ordinance, Article number 3, Section 8.2.1D. So this would be a proposed revision to our minor subdivision 3-year rule. I did want to just provide you all with a little bit of background about what the 3-year rule is. So it's a rule that we have in place for minor subdivisions. The purpose of this rule is just to prevent subsequent minor subdivisions from occurring and ultimately circumventing the major subdivision review process, which because of the impact, requires a lot more review time and a much more substantial review. So the minor subdivision 3-year rule would prevent sort of circumventing that major subdivision review process in 2 ways. One of the ways that it prevents that is by requiring a 3-year time period, waiting period to take place between minor subdivisions by anyone who owned the property, had interest in the property. And this would be for 1,500 feet. So they wouldn't be able to subdivide for a second time in 3 years on the same property or on a property in 1,500 feet of that property. The second way that it prevents circumventing the major subdivision process is by this rule also extends to any subsequent owners of the property. So, say that the person who subdivided the property could not come in and then sell it to somebody else, and then they could then go on and to create 5 more lots on the state road. That would create traffic issues and other things. So the purpose of this text amendment is not to change anything in practice. We work very closely with the legal department in order to shore up the intent of this rule. So this was done by eliminating any ambiguous language, also by just kind of fleshing out the situations in which a developer or an individual could come along and kind of circumvent this rule. So this is just tightening up that language to shore up the intent for the minor subdivision 3-year rule. And staff is open for any questions.
I've got a question.
Yes, sir, Mr. Weatherspoon.
Farmer Brown owns some acreage on, I don't know, let's say Tippett Road. And he goes in and subdivides out a parcel for his son and builds a house. This, what you're telling me is this ordinance will not allow him to subdivide any more of that land for 3 years, preventing him from building another house for another child for 3 years. Is that what I'm hearing?
So correct, and there is a process in place for those types of situations. So you're correct that there's a 3-year waiting period. However, we also do have a process where you can petition the planning board. You would bring in the map and the application, and you would ask the planning board for an exception to the 3-year rule. That is a common request and one that we have been receiving more of.
What would you,
I think we're making it hard. I think we're making it harder than we need to.
what would be the exception?
I'm so sorry.
What would be the exception?
So it would be an exception to that 3-year waiting
3-year
period.
waiting period.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Okay.
So you go to the planning board and you can petition them for exception. And of course, this text amendment is not change. That's our current practice. This text amendment, just wanted to reiterate, does not change that current practice. It's just expanding the language, eliminating ambiguous language to make sure that the rule is functioning as it is intended to.
Well, let me ask you one more question.
Yes, ma'am.
Excuse me. Would this help with preventing these developers from stacking houses on top of houses?
Well, so yes, I mean, the idea here is that if you're going to create more than 5 lots on a state road, you would have to go through a major subdivision review process, which would, entail a lot more review time. You wouldn't do them all on the state road. You would, dedicate roads publicly, and also, it could eliminate, traffic issues that could occur if you had these subsequent minor subdivisions.
Well, I see it as an element to look into the future and see what houses it could cause. Right now, we have a system where these developers are going in, making basically after they finish the application with you all and it's approved, they're going in and doing what they want to do. If some of these houses don't even have a driveway between them, that is a house and it's unsafe. It is very unsafe.
Mr. Locklear, I have a question. And I'm gonna address this more to you because I think you and I have talked about this before.
Okay.
Could we create the family farm exemption where it's by right, they can subdivide it for immediate family? And not have to go back before the planning board and all of that?
Right. Well, I think, number one, let me back up a little bit too. And I think it's important to understand that this has been in place for over 20 years. This isn't new for the county. For a number of years, there was a division of heirs. It was called division of heirs for the county, where if you were an immediate family member, then you could divide a lot and all that. But what we had happen is people started to abuse it, which is the same way we got to the point that where we're talking about the 3-year rule, as you bring up. It is cumbersome to come back. We really hadn't had a whole lot of issues. We put the exception process in place where they go back to the planning board to ask for it, for the exception of it. And it's really been fine as far as working for that. What you do have happen is the reason why the rule was created in the first place was down in Western Harnett, where is where it started. What you would have happen is a person would buy a tract of land. They'd put in 6 lots off an easement. It would be a dirt road, if that, and then they would buy the next tract of land behind it and add 6 more lots. And then they'd add 6 more lots and 6 more lots. And what they were doing is effectively skirting the major subdivision process. So we're not the only ones in the state that utilizes this. It's been around for a really long time. And what it does, and some places don't even allow minor subdivisions. Cumberland County, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they don't even allow them right now. So it's a way that what we do is it's in the working conditions, as the questions was just asked, that we're looking in. Developers are looking for lots at any level. It doesn't matter if they're in a major subdivision, and the ones that are really easy are the ones that they just divide off a state road. So when you take this out of play, you're going to be opening that door to have what I just described as major subdivisions without all the major subdivisions requirements, which is not where we want to go.
And I agree with you. The
Absolutely.
reason why I brought it up is what I would like to see is you continue to have this in place, but simplify it for the true
For that, yeah.
division of heirs for, immediate family members.
Right.
Because I don't want to get into where this is going, where you got 100 acres and all of a sudden you got 23 cousins and they're all in the development.
And that's exactly where we have seen that. But let us go back and look at that. You're right. You and I have had that conversation. I understand exactly what you're looking for. You're not trying to put out the person who's trying to divide an acre out to legitimately give it to his son or daughter. I completely understand that, and that's not where we want to go. Like I said, once again, I would just say we haven't had too many situations, and the remedy was to go to the planning board, and they've been very considerate of those situations. But we're even seeing some of those now where they're going to the planning board to do what I just described, to do another one. You know what I mean? So, but we'll look at it more closely.
Yeah, maybe Mr. Appel can get you some creative language to go at the bottom of what you've already got here and simplify it.
Well, if you can tell how many words that are up there, that Mr. Appel had a lot to do with this. Because as I mentioned, it was in place for 20 years, but he seemed to find an issue with the way it was currently written. So it got us to this day that we're sitting in front of.
Why use 60 words for 250 will do?
Yeah. So
Well, it shows that Mr. LaPere
we
knows the law.
And in all honesty, too, we had someone come and challenge the way that it was written, and we felt we were comfortable with the language. We took it to the legal department, and they were not comfortable with it, and so they thought that it was in our best interest to go ahead and tighten it up, which is why we're really here today. So it's not anything new. It's just cleaning it up for the legal folks.
Okay.
Well, I think it's
Good
great.
enough.
I think it's a good thing.
We want to leave this open until next week.
Well, put it for a
Just put it
public
on.
hearing. Put it on for a public hearing.
Yeah. Put it on for a public hearing. All right, the next item. Sarah, you ready?
I'm ready. Thank you. So our next item is a requested rezoning. It's going to be a partial rezoning of about a 17-acre tract on Ray Road in Spring Lake in the Anderson Creek Township. It's going to be, the request is from commercial to the RA20M. So we'll take a look at the site here. It's provided on the vicinity map. The site is currently split into a northern piece and a southern piece by the Cooper Creek Avenue. So the southern portion of this property is currently zoned RA20M. The northern portion of this property is zoned commercial. The area outlined in white on the vicinity map, I'm so sorry, is the area for the requested rezoning. So they're requesting that area go from commercial to the RA20M, and the area outside of that outlined white in between the blue would remain commercial. So this property does sit on Ray Road. There's quite a few commercial uses surrounding it. There's also a residential neighborhood in the back, as well as some multifamily homes in and around the area. And just to provide a little bit of background about this property, it's been zoned commercial for a while. There hasn't been commercial development on this property itself, and the site was formerly used as a manufactured home park. So next, we'll take a look at services which are available for the property, include public water and public sewer. The annual average daily trips are about 13,000 for this section of Ray Road. And the site distances here are described as good. You can see there on the, we'll take a look at the zoning district compatibility map. You can see that the requested zoning RA20M is certainly here in the area. It's the adjacent properties, as well as some commercial. You can compare the uses permitted in the commercial and the RA20M and see most of those are different, going from a commercial to a residential zoning district. Next, we'll take a look at the land use compatibility map. This property does have a compact mixed-use future land use. So that it's a mixed-use development node, which does support both residential and commercial uses. Next, we'll review some photos of the site, which have been provided for you. Excuse me. Okay. So through staff's evaluation, staff was able to go through and to answer everything here in the affirmative. Staff is recommending approval of this rezoning. At the August 5th planning board, the planning board did vote 5-0 to approve the rezoning change. There were several residents who attended the meeting, two of which were for the adjacent subdivision, and they spoke. They had questions and expressed concerns about future development of the subject property. So if it were to be developed as a residential subdivision, they had concerns about increased school capacity issues, stormwater runoff, potential increase in traffic, as well as any potential impact on their home values if the product were different than the existing subdivision behind it. And staff is open for any questions. Thank you.
Any questions for staff? Yep, put it on that needs a public hearing too, doesn't it? Okay, got that, Madam Clerk? Thank you, ma'am. All right, review of boards and applications. Committees, I'm sorry. I see one that, Brooks, is yours for Mr. Dave, that wants to be reappointed to the planning board.
Right, I would recommend reappointment.
Okay. Any other comments? Hearing none, Madam Clerk? Sir?
There's one from District 4.
Yeah, you talking about for the planning board?
No, for another one of the boards.
Yeah, I was gonna go through them a board at the time. You got Mr. Day's reappointment, okay?
Yes, sir.
The Juvenile Crime Prevention Council, we received an application from Nicole Hamer, who would like to be considered for appointment. It doesn't say if that's board specific or not. Does anybody know Ms. Hamer? Okay, Agriculture Advisory Board, application from Robin Johnson, and the board would like to would be filling this District 4. Elba Cindy Johnson, and then R.H. Byrd, and Mr. Langdon, and Mr. Randolph would all like to be reappointed.
I recommend it.
We recommend reappointment.
As far as District 4 goes, I recommend we approve her.
I recommend District 1.
Okay,
And I will recommend Mr. Randolph.
okay, good enough. You got that, Madam Clerk? All right, Harnett County Board of Health. Candy Tudor is a nurse and would like to be appointed in the registered nurse position. I'll be glad to recommend Ms. Tudor. I know her.
I recommend.
Huh? Okay. We've received an application from Lori Mackey, serve on the Health Board if appointments Mackey will fill a community member vacancy. Somebody like to recommend her?
I do.
Okay. You got all those, Madam Clerk? Okay, it looks like Ms. Barefoot has resigned from this board. She was filling a public member slot, and her time expires in May of 25. So that concludes the boards and appointment of committees. This time, county manager's report.
Thank you, Chairman. Three items bring you. The first one is to add Avery Pond Drive, Mineral Springs Lane, Squire Street, Roland Drive, Tralee Court, Old Headway, Kinsale Court, Dunberg Drive, Hinch Drive, and Waterville Way and Avery Pond subdivision to the state's secondary road system. Second item is another road addition, Kirby Smith Circle, Mosby Lane, and extension SR 2480, Bedford Road and Westerfield Farm subdivisions to the state's secondary road system. And then also the county library requests to continue the membership in NC Cardinal Consortium. We've been a member of the consortium for a good period of time, and it's very helpful for us to access materials in other library systems to help our patrons. So I would like to add all those items to the consent agenda.
Agree.
Sounds good.
Okay? That's good. Put it on consent agenda. Mr. Counselor, is there a need for a closed session?
There he is.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move the board go into closed session for the following purposes: to consult with the county's legal counsel in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege concerning the handling of certain claims. This motion is pursuant to North Carolina General Statute, Section 143-318.11A3.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it.
That's it.
Today's minutes, we've got some bad information in it.